Hello angels, welcome back to another resin video. So I got this mold from Amazon. I think it was only $6 or $8, but it was so cute. I just had to pick it up. So I was making something else and I had some resin left over, and this mold was laying around, so I just decided to pour the leftover resin in there and grab some dry flowers that I got from Etsy's and just start putting this together. I didn't really have an idea of where this was going to go, but obviously I didn't want to waste the resin, so I had to put it in a mold, and this is the closest mold that I had. So yeah, I wasn't going to record this, but I was like, this is the first time I'm using this mold. I want to see how it turned out and stuff like that. So I have this purple flakes laying around because I used it before in the other mold. That's where the resin came from. So I'm just using stuff that was already laid out instead of going to find other stuff and then the resin hardening. So these are how the flowers look. I'm just going to pop them in there. Perfect. And then looking for more flowers because I was using these flowers as well. So this one fall out, and then I had these purple ones. Just decided to add it in there as well. And then push them all the way down because right now they're floating. They're not really floating on top of the resin because the resin is already hardening, so it's sticking together. So I'm just crumpling up some flowers, making sure that everything is laying down flat, and that's that. I'm gonna leave this layer overnight for it to dry, so 24 hours for it to be dry. Making sure everything looks good. Okay, so again, this is from the goddess that I made, so it had some resin that I had to break apart, so obviously I didn't want to waste it. It doesn't make any sense to waste anything, so I'm putting it into this mold as well. So that's why it still has the same purple flakes that I used before. So I'm just putting everything into this mold, and this is how the piece of resin look. So I'm just putting everything in the mold just not to waste anything. And there's some little pieces as well, so making sure that everything gets in there. And now I'm going to add on in there more resin. After I pour down this layer, I just let it sit for a while, let the bubble rise, and then I came back later with my lighter to pop the bubbles, because there's going to be a ton of bubbles. Especially look at this side of the red one, that huge bubble just came up and popped by itself. Some of them do that, but some of them don't. They just sit and lay around, so I have to be watching it and then just pop it. If it doesn't get popped, then it's just gonna mess up the whole piece, so I have to get rid of it. So yeah, just waiting for the bubbles to see brown. I'm going to use my little stick to press down on everything so that if the bubbles are stuck underneath the flowers, they can just rise up. And then pushing some of the bubbles to the center. And there's sometimes bubbles at the side, so I have to scoop them up as well. So yeah. Okay, now you guys are going to see me use my lighter to get rid of some of the bubbles. And since this flowers is obviously dry, it's very crispy, so it catch on fire, and I just pour it out very quickly. Just going back over it again with my lighter, just in case if I miss any bubbles. Fixing all of the resin pieces to make sure everything still looks good. And yeah. So after that layer dried, this is the third layer. So I'm just pouring it all the way down. And I'm just repeating the same step as what I did before. Waiting for all of the bubbles to rise up. You see the bubbles already flowing up. Then I'm just going to use my lighter to get rid of them. And some bubbles are stuck either on the flower or underneath like a piece of it. If it didn't dry in a second layer, then I just popped it, but if it dried, there's nothing I can do about it. So I decided for the last and final layer to mix up some purple pigment. This is how it looks. So pretty. So after that layer dry, this is going to be the final layer of resin. Everything looks good. Some stuff is sticking out. There was a bubble right there after it dries, so I still was able to pop it, but now we just look a mess. And now I'm just pouring down there my final layer of resin. And it looks perfect. Everything is covered up just right. That green piece of flowers right there was already dried to the mold, and obviously I poured on the resin there, so I couldn't get rid of it. But yeah. And there's some little air bubbles, so I'm just going to use my lighter to go around the edges and just go all the way around. But I'm still going to have to wait for all of the bubbles to just form directly into the middle to just get rid of it. But I'm still getting rid of some of it in the meanwhile. I always love to do my little squiggly lines at the back of it, even though when it's dry you don't see it. It never dries well with it, but it's fine. It looks cute. And that's how it looks. I'm going to go over it again with my lighter, just in case if I miss any bubbles. And now this is in the morning. I forgot the angle that I was supposed to film it in, but I'm just going to be popping it out of the mold. Oh wow, this actually looks pretty good. I love it. You can see the air bubble that was trapped right underneath these flowers right here. But everything looks perfect. I thought there would be way more bubbles, but everything looks good. This one was only $8, so that is perfect. I was definitely so worried about how this was going to turn out because of the pieces of the resin. It had some bubbles that was trapped underneath there. I tried to get rid of some of them, but there was obviously a ton of bubbles. And obviously on some of the roses, you can see that the bubbles got trapped in between a few layers, but other than that, it's not really visible, which is amazing because I thought it was just gonna look a hot mess. But the gold flakes, the flowers, the purple, everything just bring it together. And the white that is inside of the piece of resin that I put in there, it just adds everything perfectly well to everything. I think it turned out pretty good. And this is how it looks with the tube inside of it and this dried flowers that I got from Etsy's. It comes with 3 tubes as well, so that is perfect. It looks so cute. I love it. Turned out pretty good.